Hey everyone, it's Matt here with Nightrun Studio and welcome back to the Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Unity. In this series we're taking 10 lessons at 10 minutes or less each and we're going to make a simple platformer together. In our last video, we got our player set up with variable jump heights, we've got him flipping and moving around. That said, at the moment creating more levels is a little bit onerous. And so in this video we're going to introduce Tilemaps so that we can build our levels much more simply and quickly. That's where we're headed in this video. Let's get started. Alright, so first off, since we're going to be creating a brand new tile map, we can actually click on our ground tiles and delete them all together. If you're hesitant to do that, feel free to just disable it instead. Now with that done, we're going to want to find our tile set graphics. I'm going to be using the world tile set from the Brackey's platformer bundle. Here we want to make sure that it's set up as multiple for sprite mode, 16 pixels per unit. Make sure that we're using point no filter to get rid of blur and 32-bit to preserve colors. Once we get inside of here, rather than using automatic slicing, we want to do it by cell size. We'll set this up to be on a 16 by 16 grid. Then we can slice it, hit apply, and head back into Unity. Now once we get here, we can right-click over in our hierarchy, and we're going to go down to 2D Tilemap Rectangular. This will make a grid on your screen, but also create a tile map where we can actually start placing some tiles, but first we need a palette. I'll drag this window down to make a little extra space, and then we're going to create a new tile palette. I'm going to do this inside of my assets under sprites, and I'm just going to create a folder first of all called tiles, then we'll save it there. At this point now, we can drag our world tile set up onto our tile palette. Make sure to save it in tiles as this is going to generate a file for every single one of these graphics and that can fill your assets folder in a hurry. Alright, at this point we can simply click and start painting away on our grid. There's a number of useful tools here, including the pencil, as well as this rectangular fill tool where you can just click and drag to put things in there. I'm just going to pretty this up by putting a few random different shapes inside of here. Now there is a little bit of a problem, and that is that if you hit play, you just fall through it as there's no colliders. And putting a box collider on all of these could be kind of onerous. Fortunately, we don't have to. Instead, we can add a Tilemap Collider 2D, which will automatically map itself to the exact shape of your tile map. That said, there is a little problem. Because each of these are squares, it is possible sometimes that your character could get caught on the rough edge in between specific grid lines. And to fix this, you can actually use something called a Composite Collider 2D. Now when we go to our tile map, we can go to Composite Action and Merge, and we'll now turn all of those individual colliders into one big collider, the shape of your actual tile map. That'll fix that problem with getting caught on the rough edges. That said, when you added this, it also added a rigid body 2D to the object, and, well, that's a real mess. So on your rigid body, you're just going to want to make sure that rather than having it have a dynamic body, we'll set it to static. That way it will never move around. And now the Composite Collider will work quite nicely. Now let's say I want to add some platforms. I can go ahead and drag them on here. I'd recommend you don't follow this part. And you'll notice though that it suddenly changes the size of my palette, and that's because these are not sliced on the same size of grid. If I try to draw with them, you can see that they overlap funny and just don't work the way you would expect. So you can fix this. First of all, if you ever make a mistake like this, you can click on the edit tool, this pencil here, and then actually erase the tiles right out of your palette. Once you get rid of those ones, things should go back to normal. And now we'll just need to properly size our platforms. So make sure that you've got them set up already. We did do this in an earlier video. And now we'll want to slice these by cell size as well, putting them also on a 16 by 16 grid. We can apply those and looking pretty good. Right, now when we grab our platforms and place them up in the tile palette, they fit much nicer onto that grid and we can go ahead and paint away. Before you do any proper tests, don't forget to make sure that your ground is actually set to be part of the ground layer so that your jumping will work. Now one last bonus thing I'd like to show you here. I did think to add this later, so there's some coins here. You can just ignore those as we'll show how to add them a little later. That said, let's show how to add some background tiles to this tile map. So if you right click on your grid, we'll go to 2D Tilemap Rectangular, and let's call this one Background. You can now see that when we go to our tile palette, we have the option to select the background layer, and now I can just click and drag to get entire shapes if I want, or paint them one piece at a time. And I can fill in an entire background. Now in order to make these actually be in the background, however, I'm going to have to go to my inspector, And inside of here, we're just going to want to go to the sorting order and make sure that we put this on a lower level than our player and the rest of our scene, which is currently on layer 0. Now, as long as I don't put any collider on here, we can now play the game. I'll be able to walk right past all of these elements and have them render in the background behind me. All right, that's starting to look a whole lot better. Happy level building? That said, you may notice that we're running into a problem because, well, if you build a level any bigger than the camera, we don't have a way yet for the camera to follow us. So in the next video, we're going to be looking at the Cinemachine package and how we can use that to follow the player and also do some other cool things. Hope to see you in that video. Till then, this is Matt with Night Run Studio. Cheers.